So on the big man coach, Drummond looking like maybe a no-go, not feeling well.
Yeah, I think we're still questionable, doubtful, but yeah, not looking great right now.
Understand another week for LaMarcus Aldridge. What have you seen from Nic Claxton? And we talked about it before, but just in the way that he stepped up, he's had some key plays late in games lately too.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look back in the first part of the season, he had some great weeks for us. The COVID interruption and then the hamstring, really kind of halted his season. But he'd won us some game. I mean, won us as far as our team defense with him in the fourth quarter of a lot of wins early November. December was outstanding. Now that he's gotten a kind of a run of play and gotten his fitness levels back up, and he's able to be so active and defend and use that talent to defend, almost every position on the floor, it really adds to our team. And then the athleticism to get in and out of pick and rolls and create offense with his mobility is, I think we're really excited about him and happy that he's playing at this level.
Goran, I think, was listed as questionable after shoot around. Do you have an update on him for the night?
I think he's still a game time decision. He's going to go through. He pushed the morning session to try to give it more rest time to try tonight. So hopefully he comes through his pregame ready to go.
Was that something he'd been dealing with, or did it just come up this morning?
I think if he fell in the last game, Portland game, and I think some sort of injury on the fall.
And then do you anticipate Andre joining you guys on the road trip?
I hope so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, hopefully it's like a 24-hour thing and he'll be able to join us. But I'm just guessing, just wishful thinking.
Hey, Coach, does Ben have a herniated disc?
Yeah, so that was, I think Aaron told me someone reported that today. So yeah, that's why he got the epidural.
I guess how long ago did that happen? Not the epidural, but the herniated disc.
Well, he's had it. He's had this a couple of years ago, so he's had this throughout his career at some points. And I guess there was a flare up. I'm not sure when they recognized it was beyond like a regular back flare up and a herniated disc or whatnot. But there's someone on the line there. That was the reason for the epidural.
Are you still as confident as you were in him actually suiting up and playing this season?
Yeah, I don't think it changes the outcome necessarily. We still have high hopes that he can come back. He's had moments during his rehab where he's on the court doing some things, and it looks like he's about to turn a corner, and then there's a little setback. So I still feel optimistic that he can play for us.
Is anything you've seen or heard about him? I mean, it was late in your career, but you had back problems. Is anything ringing a bell that sounds serious, or I know what that is he's dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same issues, but I think with backs, they're all really unique and different. So it's really hard to for me to kind of share my experiences with it because my back was totally different. And so yeah, you just never know. You never know how he responds. He could feel great and turn a corner in the next week or so, or it could be a longer term thing. So we just have to be patient and see how he goes.
Is there a point realistically where no matter what the injury is, where you would say if a guy hasn't played this year, he just can't help us? There's whatever the date would be in your mind, like there's just not enough time to be a relevant NBA player at this point?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think if he's able to get back to playing, I think we'd want to incorporate him at any point.
So I almost forgot my question there, listening to that one. With the number of games remaining, 11 games remaining, Coach, how do you communicate the sense of urgency for your group? You have big game tonight, Memphis, Miami, Charlotte. Do you need to treat each game like a playoff game? How are you communicating that urgency?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been communicating urgency since the All-Star break, at least. So, it's we play so many games in this league. It's a big challenge to have the same amount of urgency, the same type of playoff urgency for so long. I would say also the stretch without Kevin where we really suffered, that was a very difficult stretch for the group to survive. The fatigue of losing while still trying to come in and get better every day, really was hard. It's not like every other game or every third or fourth game was a joyous victory that, got our juices going again. We really had to band together and try to weather that. So we went from that to then having some healthy bodies back post All-Star break and the trade. to where now we want some urgency. But so it's been a nonstop slog for a long time for us, and I feel for the guys. But they've responded. They keep responding, and we got a tough week this week with great tests, and we should be excited by that. We'll miss obviously Andre and Kyrie and this evening and LaMarcus this evening, but hopefully we'll have a couple of those guys back the rest of the week, and we can keep testing ourselves against some of the top teams.
Steve, when you had the long stretch without KD, so as you have home games without Kyrie and non-KD minutes, have you learned something to get through those better through that stretch, understanding obviously how difficult those are?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest downside of all that is just the amount of burden it puts on the rest of the guys. How many more minutes they have to play, how much more responsibility they assume. It takes its toll. That's the hard part. But as far as in game that night, we do the best we can. We still try to strive for playing the way we've preached since day one, and trying to be as competitive as possible, and not having any excuses, and just trying to get better every night and compete and win the game. But at the same time, always underlying the theme of improvement, of trying to get as close to our principles as possible.
Hey, Steve. Back to Ben for a second. Do you know yet if the epidural worked? Like, has he felt better the last couple of days?
Yeah, I don't know how to, kind of qualify like how does an epidural work and what the timeline is, but I do think that if I'm not speaking out of turn, there was some relief, but I don't know how much, or if it's a total success, or how long it takes for that to be called a success. That's just one layer to try to, if I'm not mistaken, to relieve the symptoms as much as anything.
And he was obviously not playing for months, and then got traded, and then was at practice all of a sudden. I mean, when you've talked with him and trainers, is that part of the thinking of what may have happened? In action.
From what I know, he trained pretty hard for 5-6 months and was in a great place. Unfortunately, I think there was a little flare up at some point in there, and it's just never quite turned the corner since. But I think he had months of like 5-6 days a week on court, and was doing very well. So just unfortunate, but we'll stay the course, and hopefully we'll have a good resolution to this in the near future.
Has surgery been discussed at all?
Not by me. I don't think so.
Coach Patty Mills, his shooting splits home versus away have been pretty drastic in the last, I guess, week or so. Is it as simple as just not playing with Kyrie and not having his heavy minutes, or what have you seen in terms of Patty Mills and how his shooting is at home versus on the road?
I don't know that it's as simple as home road. I think Patty's going through a tough stretch here where he's had a big burden this year. He's played more than he's ever played. He's had more responsibilities than ever had. He's also been a real, a pivotal culture carrier for us. And he takes on a lot of burden there as well off the court. So I think there's, you add it all up, and he's just going through a stretch where the game's not as clear for him as it normally is. And he'll come out of this stretch, I have no doubt. And he's put on all the work. He does everything. He's as diligent a pro as there is, and he'll come out of it. It's just, I think, we go through this. I went through that as a player many times where these things aren't as clear or simple, if I can kind of describe it that way. And I think he's just going through that stretch where he's just got to take this deep breath, get through it, and he'll be fine. But I wouldn't say like it's on a home away necessarily. I think it's just he's had a heavy burden this year and he's struggling a little bit right now, but we have a lot of confidence in him.
Assuming Andre doesn't go and then no LaMarcus, just if you could speak to the matchup problems you have with Gobert, albeit on a night with a thin front court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I mean, he's it would be nice to have Andre to give us another big body rebounder, defender to help in that respect. But we don't. So we march ahead and we try to make up for it in other ways. And hopefully we're just extremely competitive and connected tonight, and that can, be the foundation of any win. So find that, we'll give ourselves a chance.
And then given that, do you see maybe Dayron joining you guys on the road, given LaMarcus, depending upon what happens with Andre, et cetera?
I guess there's a chance if Andre's is sick, past tomorrow, the next day.